Welcome into Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I'm Brandon Strange of Sports Map Houston. He's Joel Blank of ESPN 97.5, 92.5. And if you have not hit subscribe, please, on the channel. We really do appreciate it. Joel, welcome in. Rocket season's mercifully come to an end. And I wanted to get you in here because I wanted to kind of talk about some things that we're looking to very attentively as we get into the postseason and the offseason here. We got our first indication that all is not good on the John Wall front over social media. So that's got Rockets fans kind of questioning whether he's going to be with the team next year, even though the contract's still there. What do you think, Joel? Do you think that there's a possibility that maybe John Wall would take a buyout?
No, I don't, Brandon. Simply because that buyout would have to be significant, because otherwise I don't understand why Tillman Fertitta would say, hey, well, I'm going to give you only back $5 million. You keep all the rest, then you go sign with a contender. No chance. I mean, those bills right now to pay over the next 2 years are $40+ million for each year. You want to give us half back? We'll set you free. If not, shut up and be a good leader that you said you wanted to be when James Harden left, and make it your franchise and maybe play more often. Otherwise, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear you clicking like on people that have suggested that there's going to be a way for you to get out and you won't be a Rocket next year. I want to hear you say, I want to make these young guys better. I want to do the things necessary to build this franchise. That's not what I'm hearing from a guy that's overpaid and basically underplayed because he hasn't been on the court long enough. And when he is, he's all about his own stats.
Another guy that's, I think, raised a lot of eyebrows towards the end of the season was Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk really set the Rockets Twitter on fire. I'll say Rockets Twitter because the people who were still watching Rockets games were very attentive and really enthused by him. I think we can all agree he's not going to develop into Dirk, but he is a good player. He is exciting to watch. And he has, more importantly, said that he likes it here. Now, the Rockets have his bird rights, which means they can sign him to more than any other team. But would they want to, and should they?
I think they should at the right price, Brandon. I think that it's going to be, on both sides, a lot of decision-making. If someone makes him an offer that's just extremely large, I don't think the Rockets should try and think about matching that deal because you have too many other holes to fill and too many other players to develop. I think that if he, at a fair price, wants to come back and be that complementary piece to Christian Wood on the front line, I think it's something you definitely explore if it's the right deal for both sides. Olynyk's going to have suitors. We heard LeBron during the last game of the season against the Rockets was trying to recruit Olynyk already, and people realized, not just the Rockets fans, but people across the league really did open their eyes and say, Kelly Olynyk maybe was just being held back by Miami, and he can still play. He could help a contending team. If his goal is to win a championship and just be the role player like he was in Miami, he's going to have offers. If his goal is to take his game to the next level, to get the kind of minutes and the production that he got with the Rockets, then the Houston situation and a few others might make sense. But that's what he has to decide, and also then what the Rockets has to decide in terms of how much is too much and how much would we be willing to pay Kelly Olynyk.
One of the last questions that we're really looking at going into the offseason is this draft pick and the possibility of them keeping their draft pick. And we're going to talk about that and kind of the odds that are around that. But before we do that, give us a word from Fitz Roofing.
Look, we love Fitz Roofing. They support us. They support the people of Houston, Texas. And the good part is they start the process by coming to you for absolutely free and telling you what they can do. It's a free, no obligation inspection. All you do is call 832-521-3001, and they come to you and take care of the rest. If you want them to do the work, you just sign up, and they're going to take care of you every step of the way. It's Fitz Roofing, making a difference, one home at a time.
Joel, there's a coin flip chance that the Rockets don't get to keep their draft pick. But if they fall outside of that top four, if they're in that fifth spot, then they do not get to keep it. What happens to the Rockets if they do not get to keep that pick? How much does that set back the franchise? We saw them lose a lot this season. Are we going to see them tank an additional season if they don't get that pick? How many years will that set them back if they're not able to land that high draft pick?
So, Brandon, you also have to keep in consideration the fact that when Daryl Morey left, before he did, he cleared the cupboard. It's bare. And so between the first-round picks he gave up and the pick swaps that are going to give up the other ones, essentially, this is it for the Rockets. This is the difference between a 3 to 5 year rebuild and a 5 to 7 year rebuild, and it's literally that accurate. That's what we're talking about in terms of getting back to respectability, fighting for a playoff spot. If you do win the lottery, if your ping pong balls fall the right way and you get that top four pick, that's half the battle. The other half the battle is getting the pick right, depending on where you select. Because in my estimation, there's only two guys in this draft that are ready to help and contribute right now. That's Suggs and Cunningham. Other than that, even from Mobley and the 2 high school kids all the way on down, it's going to be 3 years before they're ready to really contribute to an NBA team because they have to fill out, they have to get stronger, they have to understand they're playing against grown men every single night, and it's a big difference. So I think that that's key. But the difference from the Rockets' perspective is you could have a top 4 pick and then 2 picks in the early 20s, or you could have the 18th pick and 2 picks in the 20s. So essentially, you have the chance to get a franchise-type player that can help you for the long term and potentially be an all-star, or you have the potential to take 3 picks later in the first round and use them as role players and hope you hit on a couple that end up being contributors, or you try and package them to try and move up. But essentially, it makes everything more complicated and complex if you don't get that top 4 pick.